When churches commissioned nude paintings. YouTube podcast narration. For centuries, the most powerful commissioners of nude art were not kings, not collectors, not wealthy elites. They were churches, the same institutions often associated with modesty, morality, and religious discipline once funded some of the most famous nude paintings and sculptures in human history. And hidden behind cathedral walls and sacred ceilings, the human body became one of the greatest symbols of spirituality ever created. This is the strange and fascinating story of when churches commissioned nude paintings. Today, many people assume religion and nude art have always been enemies. But history tells a very different story. During the Renaissance, especially in Italy, the human body was considered a reflection of divine perfection. Artists believed the body itself revealed the intelligence of creation. Muscles, movement, anatomy, emotion. To paint the human form beautifully was not seen as sinful. It was seen as honoring God's creation, and no institution embraced this idea more powerfully than the church. In the 15th and 16th centuries, churches across Europe hired artists to create enormous religious masterpieces. These works filled cathedrals, chapels, and holy spaces with scenes from the Bible. But something unusual appeared inside many of these sacred paintings. Nudity, not hidden, not subtle, openly displayed in some of the most important religious artworks ever made. Perhaps the most famous example is the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel painted by Michelangelo. Millions of people visit it today, but when it was first revealed in the early 1500s, viewers were stunned. The ceiling and later, the Last Judgment, contained hundreds of partially or fully nude figures. Prophets, saints, angels, biblical heroes, human bodies twisted through dramatic poses across sacred space. Some church officials admired the genius. Others were horrified. One critic reportedly called it inappropriate for a holy chapel, but Michelangelo defended the human body as a masterpiece of creation itself. To him, anatomy was not corruption. It was divine architecture, and Michelangelo was not alone. Artists like Leonardo da Vinci, Raphael, and Titian all worked closely with religious institutions. Again and again, churches requested paintings filled with idealized human forms. Why? Because Renaissance Christianity was deeply influenced by classical Greek ideas of beauty and proportion. The perfect human form symbolized harmony, order, creation, the image of humanity before corruption. In many paintings, nudity represented innocence rather than shame, especially in scenes involving Adam and Eve before the fall from Eden. But over time, attitudes began to change. As Europe entered periods of religious conflict and stricter moral control, church leaders became more uncomfortable with artistic nudity. The same paintings once celebrated for beauty suddenly faced criticism, and censorship arrived. After Michelangelo's death, parts of The Last Judgment were altered. Draperies and fabric were painted over nude figures to cover parts of the body considered too revealing. One artist became so famous for adding these coverings that people mockingly nicknamed him the breeches painter. Art had not changed, society had. This tension between spirituality and the human body continues even today. Modern audiences often separate nudity from holiness, but Renaissance artists saw them as deeply connected. To them, the body was not something shameful to hide. It was evidence of life itself. Emotion, suffering, strength, mortality. The body became a language through which spiritual ideas could be understood. And perhaps that is why these paintings still feel powerful centuries later. Because beneath religion, beneath controversy, beneath censorship, they reveal something timeless. The strange relationship humans have with their own image. We celebrate the human body, fear it, admire it, and censor it, sometimes all at once. The churches that once commissioned nude masterpieces may seem contradictory to modern eyes. But history is rarely simple. In sacred halls filled with candlelight and prayer, artists painted the human form not as obscenity, but as something divine. And maybe that is the deeper mystery of art itself. The closer artists come to portraying humanity honestly, the more complicated society's reaction becomes. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe for more stories about forbidden art, hidden history, and the strange relationship between beauty and society.